The state says it has witnessed testimony implicating one of the accused in the murders of AKA and Tibz as the person who fired the first shots when the rapper was killed. 5 of the 7 suspects in the murders of Karinda and his friend Tibelo Motswane are applying for bail in the Durban Magistrate's Court.
The state is in possession of witness statements implicating the applicant in the commission of this offense. The witness and the scientific evidence indicate that the applicant was present when the white Mercedes and the firearms were handed back after the murders were committed. The evidence further suggests that Malusi Dave Mj is the first shooter who actually fired shots at the first deceased AKA.
Earlier, the court heard how cell phone records placed 2 of the accused in the AKA and Tibz murders at the hotel in Umhlanga, where the rapper and his entourage were staying.
Cellular phone records also placed applicant number 5, Lindo Mhlaliseni in demand, herein referred to as Lindo, in the vicinity of the said Hilton Hotel. At 16:39, applicant number 5, Lindo's cellular phone records places him in the vicinity of Shaga's boat in Umhlanga, which is not far from the hotel. According to the tracking report, the above-mentioned grey VW Polo with registration NUR 59728 is at Umhlanga Rocks Drive at 1640. Cell phone records places Siyabonga Gezani in demand at Kingston Square at 1653. At the same time, the grey Polo with registration number NUR 59728 is at Ruthveldt Highway according to the tracking report. It was later identified that this grey Polo was a spotter vehicle used by the assailants.
Well, let's take you to the Durban Magistrate's Court now, where 5 of the 7 accused in the AKA and Tibz murders are applying for bail. Newzroom Afrika's Karinda Jagmohan is covering that story for us and joins us now. Tell us where are things at the moment?
Indeed, good day to you. It's quite a long, drawn statement that's being read out by the advocate, the state prosecutor. The affidavit is one by the investigating officer who's been at the helm of the case from when AKA and Tibz were killed in February last year. But this affidavit is over 60 pages long, and we're not even halfway through. It does paint a picture of how the murder, or the alleged premeditated murder, was carried out by the 5 suspects. And we're also hearing new names now coming into the fray. The state has said that they're not done with arrests. There could be more arrests to come as they further investigate and track down suspects. Now, so far, especially from what the state has said via their investigating officer, is that we know there were 3 vehicles involved in the alleged murder of Karinda and Tibelo Motswane. This includes a white BMW, a grey Polo, VW Polo, and a silver i10 Hyundai. And these were in Durban, tracking the movements of specifically Karinda. It's alleged that he was the main target in this apparent premeditated attack. Tibelo Motswane, unfortunately, having succumbed to injuries on the scene as well in the midst of the gunfire on that fatal February night at about 10:20. But just to quickly paint the picture of what the state has said is that accused number 4, Gwabeni, he's been linked as the paymaster among the suspects, that he was in the white BMW on the day when AKA and his entourage arrived here in Durban at the airport. He was at the airport. The cell phone records and bank records show that he paid for his parking ticket there, and it's alleged that he followed AKA and his entourage to Umhlanga, to their hotel. The state says, or the IO says, that they followed or tracked this white BMW because part of the vehicle was damaged, and they could see through CCTV footage that this vehicle was actually tracking the AKA and his entourage. Ultimately, once at Mhlanga, Gwabeni reportedly or allegedly phoned his co-accused and told them to prepare the other two vehicles and also the firearms. They were then spotted via CCTV footage in Jacob, so that's just south of Durban, south of the Florida Road area, and it's alleged that they were all in the same vicinity, according to their cell phone records, planning this apparent or alleged premeditated murder. At about 10 o'clock or around 10 o'clock, they were seen via CCTV cameras and via tracking evidence in the area around Florida Road, around the Wish restaurant, and ultimately many people might have seen that tragic and terrible video that shows the attack unfolding, and ultimately the state also just described what happened there. The various suspects fled in those vehicles, and the IO says they use cell phone records, again tracking records and CCTV footage to track down the vehicles in Umlazi rather. And it was then we were told that the vehicle suspects attempted to burn the vehicle and also discard of some of the firearm remnants, including the spent cartridges. Ultimately, they were tracked down. There are more suspects being named right now, including one, Spamandla Ngobo, who was at this court. He appeared very briefly, but on a separate matter, and that's alleged to the robbery of the white Merc. My apologies, it's a white Mercedes-Benz and not a BMW. It's alleged that he used that stolen Merc as well. But his case, the state wants to link his case to this, and they say they're working on that, but they're keeping the charges against him related to that white Merc. So there's quite a furor over that earlier today, and so that just points out that this case is definitely still in the making as more suspects are brought in. One important aspect that happened just before we ended is the apparent paymaster over and above Gwabeni. Accused number 4 was named. One Mfundo Ngaba, an owner of a private company in Durban. We understand an apparent prominent person in Durban as well. It's alleged that that the money that was paid to Gwabeni, the 800,000 rand, came from a bank account under his name. That's what the state has had to say just shortly after we adjourned these proceedings. And of course, going forward, we now expect to hear more from the state about what this means for the case, whether there might be more arrests. But certainly we see now this really unfolding, that 800,000 rand paid to Gwabeni was divided in various amounts among the suspects. It was described here, and we'll give you that full report later tonight. But there's still much of the day to go. We're not even halfway through those 68 pages of this police affidavit that is ultimately somewhat a form or an example of the trial that could later unfold. But this is the bail application, and the state says they do not want bail for these suspects.